The Yemeni Civil War. Yemen, a country in the Middle East located below Saudi Arabia, was under the control of the Ottoman Empire from 1520 until 1918, when the First World War ended. Following the end of the First World War, it was split into the country of Yemen and the East Aden Protectorate. This split lasted until the 1960s, when Yemen split again. From this boundary agreement came North Yemen, officially the Yemen Arab Republic, which was controlled by Islamic authorities, and the British-controlled South Yemen, officially called the People's Democratic Republic of Yemen. Relations between North and South Yemen were incredibly tense and violent throughout the 1970s and 80s. The end of this conflict came on May 22, 1990. The unification made economic sense for both countries, as it would help increase the power of the oil industry, make the country's administrative powers sounder, and hopefully help see an increase in tourism. Politically, it made sense as well. Most Yemenis saw the original divide of the country as artificial and contrived by Western forces. Ali Abdullah Saleh, the former leader of North Yemen, pictured on the right, served as the interim president for the 30-month transitional period that it took for the governments to successfully merge the two former countries' political and economic systems. Ali Salam al-Baid, on the left, the Secretary General of South Yemen, served as the vice president. The struggle to merge two wildly different systems caused the country to experience an economic collapse. Most of the people in North Yemen had experienced better living conditions before the merge. In 1991, the Middle East's oil economy was booming. Yemen, a country rich with oil, refused to join the US-Saudi coalition for oil that aimed to regulate and control all oil in the area. This resulted in foreign aid being pulled by the US and Saudi Arabia. Many other Arab oil states soon followed. Within months, the Yemeni government was in complete and total economic collapse as they relied heavily on foreign aid. Following the country's first democratic election in 1993, President Saleh's party came out with the majority of seats. The government was relatively stable, and the world watched, hoping this would be the end to the Yemeni conflicts. President Saleh's party, the General People's Congress, or GPC, held political power from 1993 all the way up until 2015. In 2014, Abba Rabur Mansur Hadi was president of Yemen. In 2014, rebels took control of Yemen's largest and capital city, Sana'a. They demanded lower fuel prices and a new government. Following failed negotiations, the rebels seized the presidential palace in January of 2015. This led President Hadi and his government to resign. President Hadi later rescinded his resignation, complicating the UN's plan to put in a stable, transitional government. Later in 2015, he was forced to flee to exile in Saudi Arabia following a rebel advance. In the early weeks of the war, the rebels made quick progress, taking over many towns and cities, all the while leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Many innocent civilians were left displaced or dead. The Houthi rebels are also known for recruiting child soldiers. These child soldiers usually come from destitute families who sell them for money. Rebels will often exploit humanitarian aid and bribe families to get children into the army. Child soldiery is often considered a form of human trafficking. Horrifyingly, it is not only the rebels recruiting child soldiers. The official army of the officially recognized International Government of Yemen has been known to recruit child soldiers. Many of them have died senselessly as cannon fodder. What was originally intended to be a days to weeks-long conflict over the price of fuel and calls for a new government has since stretched out to almost 10 years of grueling civil war. It is marred by huge amounts of destruction and loss of civilian life. It is one of the worst humanitarian crises in the modern world. An estimated 4.5 million people are currently displaced. That's about 14% of Yemen's population. Many of them have been displaced multiple times since 2014. 21.6 million people, which is almost two-thirds of Yemen's population, are in dire need of humanitarian aid. The risk of national famine in Yemen has never been more real. Tens of thousands of people already live in famine-like conditions, and it's estimated that 16 million more are just a step away. Yemen has one of the highest rates of internally displaced refugees in the world. They are living off limited resources and experiencing continually harsh conditions in refugee camps. It is estimated that 76% of Yemen's refugees are women and children. Despite the conflict, Yemen still houses over 90,000 refugees, mostly from Somalia and Eritrea. This puts an even greater strain on the country's resources and space in refugee camps. What is being done to help? Organizations such as the International Rescue Committee and the United Nations have boots on the ground in Yemen. They are providing life-saving health care, food, water, and education to the people in the refugee camps. One specific service offered is to breastfeeding mothers. Yemen has one of the highest rates of malnutrition in the world, and of those malnourished, the majority are young mothers. Life-saving care provided by the UN helps improve their quality of life and keeps their babies alive. The majority of fighting has stopped in the year 2023. However, Yemen is still in dire need of humanitarian aid. With unprecedented number of refugees and virtually no government, Yemen has been declared a failed state. If you are interested in learning more about the Yemen crisis and how you can help, please visit the International Rescue Committee or the UN Agency for Refugees websites, both of which I'll link down below. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video.